Before we get into today's episode, a quick but important note. Everything you hear today is educational information. I am not a registered investment advisor. Nothing in this episode is investment advice. In our last episode, we covered immigration risk indicators, the parameters that determine whether an EB5 project delivers on the green card promise. If you have not watched that episode, watch it first. The link is right here. Today we cover the other side, because your green card is not the only thing at stake, so is your capital. $800,000. And in EB5, getting your money back is not guaranteed. It never has been. The question is, do you know the right indicators to evaluate how well protected your capital really is? That is what this episode is about. I'm Mr. EB5. Welcome back to EB5 Gyan. Let's get into it. Indicator 1. Loan or preferred equity. Know the difference. Before anything else, understand the legal structure of your EB5 investment. Most EB5 investments are structured as a loan. The new commercial enterprise, the entity you invest into, lends your capital to the developer at a fixed interest rate for a defined term. As a lender, you have a contractual right to repayment of principal and interest. That right is enforceable. Some EB5 investments are structured as preferred equity. Here, you are not a lender. You are an equity holder with a preferred return and priority over common equity, but below all debt in the capital stack. Neither structure is automatically better or worse. Each carries a different risk and return profile. The critical thing is, understand which structure you are in before you sign anything. Ask the RC directly, is this a loan or preferred equity structure? What are my rights as an investor in a default or liquidation scenario? Then take those answers to your financial advisor and attorney for independent review. Indicator 2. Capital structure and EB5 position in the stack. Every project has a capital stack. The layered structure of who provided money, in what form, and who gets paid back first. At the top sits senior debt, usually a bank loan. This gets repaid first, always. Below that sits the EB5 loan or preferred equity, your capital. Below that sits developer equity, the developer's own money in the deal. In a liquidation scenario, senior debt gets paid first. EB5 gets what remains after that. Developer equity gets what is left, if anything. The lower you sit in the stack, the higher your risk. Key questions to bring to your advisor. What percentage of total project financing does EB5 represent? Is there meaningful senior debt above EB5 from an institutional lender who has done their own due diligence? And how much genuine developer equity sits below EB5 in the stack? A senior lender's presence is an independent validation of project viability. Developer equity below you means the developer has real financial exposure too. Your advisor can help you interpret what the capital structure means for your specific risk position. Indicator 3. LTV, Loan to Value Ratio. LTV stands for Loan to Value Ratio. It tells you what is the total debt on this project relative to the value of the completed asset. Here is a simple example. If a project is valued at $100 million when complete, and total debt including EB5 is $70 million, the LTV is 70%. That means the asset would need to lose 30% of its value before the debt begins to be impaired. The lower the LTV, the more buffer sits between the asset value and your capital position. The higher the LTV, the thinner that buffer becomes. Ask the RC, what is the projected LTV at completion and stabilization? Then take that number to your financial advisor and ask them, how does this compare to market norms for this asset class? And what does it mean for my risk exposure? Do not interpret LTV in isolation. Context matters. Asset class, location, market conditions, all of these affect how an LTV number should be read. That interpretation is your advisor's job, not mine. Indicator 4. LTC, Loan to Cost Ratio. LTC stands for Loan to Cost Ratio, where LTV looks at the completed value, LTC looks at the total development cost. It tells you what percentage of the total project cost is being funded by debt. Again, a simple example. If a project costs $80 million to build and total debt is $60 million, the LTC is 75%. A high LTC means the project is heavily debt financed. If construction costs overrun, and in real estate they often do, a thin equity cushion may not be enough to absorb those overruns without creating financial stress. LTC is especially worth scrutinizing for projects still in the construction phase. Ask the RC for the LTC figure. Ask what happens if costs exceed budget. Is there a contingency reserve? Who funds cost overruns? Then bring those answers to your advisor and ask them to walk you through what the LTC means in the context of this specific project type and stage of development. Together, LTV and LTC paint a picture of financial cushioning. Your advisor helps you read that picture correctly. Indicator 5. Collateral and security. If your investment is structured as a loan, what is securing that loan? This is collateral. In a well-structured EB5 deal, the EB5 loan should be secured by a recorded lien on the project asset, meaning the real estate or property itself. That lien gives you a legal claim against the asset in the event of a default. Ask the RC, what collateral secures the EB5 loan? Is there a recorded deed of trust or mortgage? What is the priority of that lien relative to the senior lender? In many EB5 deals, the EB5 loan is secured by a recorded lien on the project asset, the real estate or property itself. In most structures, the senior lender holds first position and EB5 holds second. Understanding what second position means in a foreclosure scenario is not something to guess at. Have your attorney walk you through exactly what your rights are and what recourse you have if things go wrong. No collateral at all? That is a question your attorney needs to answer before you sign, not after. Indicator 6. Developer equity and skin in the game. How much of their own money is the developer putting into this project? This is developer equity, and it sits below your capital in the stack. When a developer has genuine, significant equity in a deal, they absorb losses before you do. Their financial incentives are directly aligned with project success. When developer equity is minimal or structured in a way that allows early fee extraction, their direct financial exposure is limited. Ask for a full capital stack breakdown showing the developer equity amount and its form. Then ask your advisor, is this level of developer equity meaningful relative to total project cost? And ask specifically, is any of the developer equity in the form of contributed land value rather than cash? Cash equity and land value equity are not the same. Your advisor can explain the difference and what it means for your position. Guaranteed completion bonds, if present, are also worth understanding. Ask your attorney to explain what a completion bond covers and what it does not. Indicator 7. Exit strategy and repayment terms. You put money in, at some point, you need it back. How does that happen? Ask the RC. What is the exit strategy for this project? Is repayment tied to a sale of the asset? A refinancing? Project operating revenues? Each of these carries a different risk profile and a different dependency on market conditions at a future point in time. None of them are certain. Ask, what is the projected repayment timeline? What happens if that timeline is missed? Can the loan term be extended? And critically, who approves that extension? The RC unilaterally or the investors? Your repayment rights and your recourse, if they are not met, must be clearly defined in the loan or subscription agreement. Do not sign that document without your attorney reading it line by line and explaining it to you in plain language. The exit strategy is where the financial and immigration timelines intersect most directly. Understanding it completely before you invest is non-negotiable. Indicator 8. Construction status and completion risk. The earlier a project is in its development life cycle, the higher the construction risk. A project that exists only on paper carries maximum development risk. A project under construction carries moderate risk depending on how far along it is and whether a completion guarantee is in place. A project that is built and operational carries the lowest construction risk, though it may have other risks depending on its financial performance. For projects under construction, ask specifically, is there a completion guarantee? Who is providing it? The developer, a surety bond, or a third-party guarantor? Ask your attorney to review what the completion guarantee actually covers, what triggers it, and what happens if the guarantor cannot perform. A completion guarantee is only as strong as the entity standing behind it. Know where your project stands in its development life cycle. Know what protections exist at that specific stage. And make sure your attorney has reviewed all of it, not just the marketing summary. Let me bring it all together. 8 investment risk indicators for any EB5 project. 1. Loan or preferred equity. Know your structure and your rights. 2. Capital structure and EB5 position. Where do you sit in the stack? 3. LTV. How much buffer exists between the asset value and the debt? 4. LTC. How heavily debt financed is this project? What happens if costs overrun? 5. Collateral and security. What backs your loan? What are your rights if it defaults? 6. Developer equity. How much genuine skin does the developer have? In what form? 7. Exit strategy and repayment terms. How and when do you get your money back? Who controls that decision? 8. Construction status and completion risk. What stage is the project at? What completion protections exist? Now, one final point. This framework is not a checklist you work through alone. Every one of these indicators requires professional interpretation, a financial advisor for the investment side, an immigration attorney for the legal side. What this episode gives you is the vocabulary and the questions. What your advisors give you is the interpretation specific to your situation. Use both. Drop your questions in the comments. I read every single one. And if this series has been valuable, share it with someone who is making this decision right now. That's EB5 Gyan. Simply clear every time. I'm Mr. EB5. Know the risk, ask the right questions, make the right move. See you in the next one.